We continue our sports page Summer of Football, previewing some teams going into the 2012 season. And now it's time to preview Tennessee's second opponent of the season from Atlanta, play their games in the Georgia Dome, and future Sun Belt Conference member next season. Georgia State head football coach Bill Curry joins us here on the new Sentinel sports page. Hey, Coach Curry, it's Vince Ferrara and Brendan Quinn. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. How about you?
We're doing good. If I can hit the right buttons, we'd be even better, Coach. But anyway, I do want to talk about first the announcement and that you were joining the Sun Belt Conference. It's been amazing how you've gone from, and you've been a big part of this, gone from starting a program from scratch to already moving into the FBS just a couple years in and going into the Sun Belt Conference. Kind of talk about how quick that rise into the FBS and into the Sun Belt Conference, how that's played out.
You're exactly right. It's been dizzying. It's been a whirlwind experience. Here we were only a couple of years ago without a practice field. 3 years ago, we literally didn't have a football. We didn't have a practice field. We didn't have a locker room or any of the other things that you normally associate with a program. And now suddenly, it seems as if it's happened suddenly. We have transitioned before we really got into a really tough FCS conference. We're now members of an FBS conference that's also very tough. And it would be nice if this had happened over 6 or 8 years. It's happened over a matter of 2 years. So we really got a lot of work to do with our team. Our team is working very hard. I'm proud of the guys. But we got a lot of work to try to be competitive with our CAA schedule this year. And then, as you say, the Sun Belt the year after will be even more demanding.
So, Coach, obviously with such an expedited process of getting to where you are today, kind of just give us a picture of what the program looks like that you'll be bringing into Neyland this year.
I like that, expedited process.
I thought that was the genteel way of saying it. A whole lot of hours
and a whole lot of hustling and a whole lot of people pitching in to help us is what it is. And what we have now is we have a reasonable facility, I think very nice, that has been put together with our locker rooms and coaches' meeting rooms, and we have a functional weight room, and we've actually got the money to build a much larger weight room. We're just securing the space for that. So while we've had a functional weight room all along, that will improve, and that will also, and that quickly adds to what a team can do in the off season. More importantly, the team has developed off-season work ethic habits that did not exist before, so that gives us a chance to make drastic improvement. We know when we line up against somebody like Tennessee that we're not going to match up physically in terms of size, speed, etc., because we're talking about the SEC here. But if we've been doing our work, if we've been busting it in the weight room, and if we've been training hard out on the field in the off season, then at least we can compete when it comes to being tough and getting after people and having a plan and trying to make something happen and get a chance to win. But these are very interesting times and very demanding times.
Joined by Georgia State Panthers head football coach Bill Curry. Georgia State at Tennessee here in Knoxville, 4 p.m. Eastern time, Saturday, September 8th. And we'll learn a little bit about Georgia State's team in just a moment. Coach, I want to ask you about your roster. I think some people maybe had some thoughts as to how you might develop your roster, maybe going the transfer route. And then there are so many local players there, as everyone knows, in the state of Georgia, some terrific players. Has the roster, the way it sits now, has it developed maybe the way you originally thought, or has that played out differently? Speak on that if you could.
It's played out very differently than what I originally thought would happen. We did end up with a number of transfers that ended up their career last year. Transfers that came in here the first year, and they did a good job for us, and I'm very pleased that they were here. But it left us after 2 years heading into really the meat of the competitive part of what we're doing in the FCS and tackle on the FBS, and that becomes doubled and redoubled. But we are replacing a lot of those seniors now in our third year. That is not something I would have expected. But if I had to do it over again, I would still take those guys because we didn't seek them. They sought us. We had 2 linemen from Georgia Tech that had graduated in 3 years and had two years of eligibility remain. Well, my gosh, naturally we wanted to take those guys, and they did a good job, Joe Gilbert and Clyde Yandell. But now we got young players playing, and that's true in a lot of spots, especially on both lines of scrimmage. So it did not go the way I thought it would, but we're still building the basis of it with high school recruits, not many transfers, not many junior colleges, high school recruits primarily from the state of Georgia and the surrounding area.
And Coach, because of your long history in the game, people around here are already familiar with you, even if they're not familiar with the Georgia State program. But with your head coaching stops at Georgia Tech and Alabama and Kentucky, let me ask you, what's it like to now bring an FCS program into stadiums? I know you've played at Alabama, now you're playing at Neyland. What's it like to bring your program now into a stadium like Neyland versus what you did previously in your career? I mean, just you brought teams in there to win. Now it's a little bit different when you're bringing a program like Georgia State into a place like this.
Well, that's a good question. Our first year we did play Alabama, and the only reason we would play somebody like that at that stage in the program is because that's the only time that they had a game. I said, my gosh, we can't play you guys the first year. But we did because they didn't have a game for another decade. So we thought the experience would be worthwhile. And sure enough, our guys were thrilled to get a chance to play, and we didn't play well, but we played hard, and we weren't intimidated by that awesome atmosphere. The guys had tears in their eyes because they were so thrilled that they had a chance to go there and just be a part of that. Our fans liked it even more. They loved tailgating at that kind of environment with their own team to pull for. Then a year ago, we went to Houston, and we did get intimidated. I mean, they were so fast, and they were throwing the ball. They were among the top offenses in the country. And we just got stars in our eyes, and we couldn't tackle, and we didn't play well at all. So I hope as we continue to come to big venues, when we come to Neyland, I hope we'll play a little better each time and eventually have a chance, if you get lucky and if you block a punt, have a chance to stay in the game and have a chance at a win. But you just keep on doing it. If you don't go throw your hat in the ring and take on the top programs, you're never going to know what they feel like.
We're visiting with Georgia State head football coach Bill Curry here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Vince Ferrara and Brendan Quinn. Georgia State in 2011, 3-8, did win its final game and also a win over South Alabama, a team that now is in the FBS and already into the Sun Belt. Coach, if you could, give us a little scouting report. We'll go each side of the ball one by one. Give us a scouting report for our fans on what your offense is, some of the key points and areas that you're looking to improve on, first on offense.
Well, the team a year ago, first of all, the first year we had a winning season, and people made a very big deal out of that. And it was so close. If you change 3 plays, that 6-5 becomes 3-8. Last year, the 3-8, if you change 3 plays, we're 6-5 because we played close and we played overtime games and we stayed with people. What we didn't do is finish well. So the overall theme for our team this year is to finish things, and that's not an unfamiliar theme with teams, and especially new coaching staffs and new programs. Offensively, we're a spread offense, but we want to run the ball well. We want to be able to knock people off the ball, and we don't want teams to be able just to zero in and expect us to throw or run the option. We have some versatility at the quarterback position with Kelton Hill, who started our last 5 games, and Ben McCabe, who came out of the spring as a starter. They're two different kinds of quarterbacks, but they both bring the necessary ingredients to operate our offense well. So we're counting on those guys to do a good job for us. Up front on offense, we've got a good offensive line. Both offensive tackles are returning starters. One by virtue of the fact that he started every game since he's been here, Grant King, our right tackle, and Ulrich John, by virtue of we had a lot of injuries on the offensive line a year ago, and Ulrich had to play 3 different positions. But those are the guys that are our leaders up front. The strongest unit on our team is probably our wide receivers, led by Dan Williams, who's a 6'4" guy that runs well and catches everything, and Albert Wilson, who's 5'9", 5'10", but who has outstanding speed. He has the kind of speed to actually run with SEC guys. We don't have a lot of that, but we do have it in Albert. We have an excellent running back, more than one, but the guy that's our starter is Donald Russell, who's a Kentucky transfer, who runs hard. He doesn't have great speed, but he has good enough speed to make long runs. And when we're blocking well and throwing well, then we can have a balanced offense, which is our goal. Our defense has really struggled, and we've probably tried too many things. We tried a lot of combinations of the 3-5-3 last year, and so we're going to go to a 4-2-5 this year with an extra down lineman, and hope that we get better performance there. Our veteran players are in our secondary. Corners, Demarius Matthews is an excellent player for us. He also possesses excellent speed, I think surprising speed for a program like us. And Jamal Ransby on the other side, who's another outstanding corner. Our front people, John Kelly is ironically a transfer, but he has 2 years to play. He's done a good job, and I think he'll probably be our leader for our people up front. Among the linebackers, Mark Hogan is a guy who's actually make you feel kind of old. He's the son of a former player of mine at Georgia Tech by the same name. Mark is a linebacker, and he's fast, tough. He knows how to get to the football, so he'll be the leader in the linebacker corps. So that's a few of the guys on our team. Excellent.
We're Bill Curry joining us here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Last thing with you, Coach. Give me your thoughts on this Tennessee team that you will face, and what your thoughts are on the program and anyone on the coaching staff.
Well, I'm a big believer in Derek Dooley. He was on the same Virginia team with our son, Bill Curry Jr. They were both walk-ons who earned starting positions, and they both earned scholarships in a really good, tough football program in the early 90s with George Welsh. And Derek was such a mentor to our son, Bill Jr., that we've always thought the world of him. So I know he's run into some controversy up there. That goes with the territory when you take one of those jobs. And I know that given time that he'll do a good job. So we expect that they'll be improved. We know they have great skill on the outside. They have excellent talent across the board. I started going to Knoxville to play football in 1960 when it was called Shields-Watkins. I was a freshman at Georgia Tech. We played the Tennessee freshmen, and then I competed against them virtually every year of my whole career as a player and as a coach, everywhere I've coached until Georgia State. So now we get to come up there too.
Well, Coach, really appreciate your insight. Look forward to seeing you here on September 8th. And if fans want more information on Georgia State, you can go to georgiastatesports.com and get more info on them. Thanks so much, Coach. Really appreciate it. Good luck starting the season on August 30th.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. That is Bill Curry, legendary coach